Hello and welcome to the Life and Fight of a podcast. Ross, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Simon Price.
So,
Right now we are joined by Mr. Ben Royle, who's all the way out in Phuket right now. How's it going, Ben?
Yeah, good man. How are you?
Good, man. Simon, how are you?
Nice.
yeah, good man. Good seeing Ben again, man. Like, I've watched your
Yeah,
performance
it's been a
recently.
while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I think the mix of the Freeman accents are really going to come out on this one, especially with you, Simon. It comes out on the podcast with you. Ben, so we've known each other for a long, long time now. You're out in Phuket, teaching, training, fighting professional now. We'll start right at the beginning. And I've just said to this before you came on to Simon that even Simon couldn't remember this. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. You two both fought on Fight Icon maybe about 9 years ago. Do you remember Simon being on that card?
Um, yeah, he fought Stuart Cooper. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one. Yeah,
Who did you fight on that
Yeah.
card?
Um, Someone from Hammer called Jack Burke. I think it's called Jack Burke. I think Jack Burke.
Because I was looking at...
Oh, Jack Burkett. Jack Burkett. It was called. I'm pretty sure it was that. I was at my second fight.
It's one of them because I was looking at the
I-
topology details, and that's what it just didn't come up with anything regarding Icon. I was like, who did he fight? Because I think I've mentioned this to you before, maybe in passing, maybe as a laugh. But I was there supporting Simon, and I seen you, and obviously I was actively fighting at that point, and I was like, I want to take on that guy. That guy's good.
He,
And obviously, it
he
just never,
said
never.
that to me. I think my first fight was on. Like my first fight was on Takedown. You know, on them old Takedown show. It was on the second Takedown show. I think you fought on that as well. I definitely saw you there for the first time anyway.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me, Simon, and you all did all the takedowns together. But that
yeah, I
was
did two of them.
fun learning curve, really, because back then there wasn't really, if to get on a good show like you would look like a UKFC now or anything like that, you've got to be of a decent level or you fighting more or less full time as an amateur. Whereas in back then it was sort of like a proper amateur sport. It didn't feel like it is now. It's come on leaps and bounds. But I did feel like it really helped a lot of people like yourself, Ben. You were very, very young back then. Where were you training out of originally?
I don't know.
Hi, that was it.
Yeah, that was like just throw you in, you know. I was like, I fought on the first takedown when I was 15, and he's like, just write on it that you're 18 so that you can fucking do, you know, the full rule set, you know, like headshots on the floor and stuff. And I was like, right in there was 18. I was stupid away. I was like, still trying to get like my mum to sign it. I was like, oh, mum, sign that I'm 18. Sign that I'm 18. But, yeah.
So let's go right back at the beginning. So you started training quite young. You was at Hyde MMA. What got you into the sport? Was you a fan, or was it something to keep fit or active? What was it?
No, not really. Like, you know Harry Williams, obviously, don't you? Like, of course. I went to school with Harry, and I was lifting weights with some of my friends. I could start doing that. I really enjoyed it. I was doing that for like pretty seriously for like 6 months or something. And the guys I was lifting weights with wanted to, because of Harry, they wanted to go to, you know, Hyde MMA, like try MMA and stuff like that. And I had no interest in it. I just wanted to keep lifting weights. I was well into that. But I didn't want to lift weights by myself, so I just fucking went with them. And then I got real serious about it, obviously. Like, obviously really serious. And like, for them, it was just like a few weeks or whatever, and then we just went back to whatever they were doing. But it's because of Harry, I guess. But I just tagged along one day. But like, as soon as I did like the first session, I just fucking loved it, you know.
Definitely.
What was it that first sort of got you hooked into it? Was that more the grappling, the striking, like anything that sort of drew you to it?
No, the first session was like a grappling session. It was like they showed like 2 or 3 submissions or whatever, and then just like I just rolled for like an hour or something with another guy who was like on his first lesson. Like, who went to school with him. He was called Ross. Nice guy. But like probably helped because I was winning there. But then just because of that, I was like, oh, this is fucking great. I'm dead good at this. Like, I just better do it all the time. Or not that I do it all the time, but I was like, fucking, I want to do more of it, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like, I was training. They had like 3 sessions a week or something, so I was doing them. And then, or maybe a month later, 6 weeks later, I was like, I want to do more, you know, like fucking this is it. So like fucking searching, I found I was looking for like other MMA gyms or like jiu-jitsu that I could do on the other days, and then I found Fatra when they were just doing like 3 sessions a week as well, and it happened to be on the days that I weren't training at Hired.
Oh, decent.
So yeah, so then I started training at Fatra and like it's still like 2010, 2010. That's when Adam was still a purple belt, like James and everyone.
Oh wow.
And so I started training. Yeah, that was it. I was training 6 days a week.
You were known as sort of the prodigy coming out of the Northwest, especially the gyms you were training at, the training partners you were with. You were accumulating a good name in the grappling events and then also in the MMA events. What was it that made you jump into sort of the first sort of MMA side? Obviously, I know you was trying to get your mum, like you said, to try and sign you to do the MMA, but what made you lean towards doing the more MMA? Because obviously you went to Factory and that's just a jiu-jitsu based gym. And obviously that made you come on leaps and bounds. The Killers there and Simon's trained there as well.
Yeah.
But what made you, because I know for a while you paused because you on the jiu-jitsu side, but what made it transition back to the MMA?
Like so I started with MMA. That was the first thing, you know, and that was it. I really enjoyed it, but I think I really enjoyed training at Factory too. And like this is like no disrespect or no offense, but I felt like the standard of training a bit. Not sorry, one second, just turn the fan on. Like I thought the training at Factory was like really good. You know, it was like I was seeing like loads of. I can't say it about being disrespectful. At the time, it was just a bit too young for the MMA. It wasn't the right place for me to be doing it, like at that age and stuff. And but Factory was really good. You know, I could see like a lot of progress in what I was doing, and like I had a lot of potential in it. So it was like at that point, it seemed like it was the best thing was me to just focus on the jiu-jitsu, and I did that for like a year and a half. Just when I got my blue belt, and like in that year, I went from like just getting my blue belt to being like, for my weight, like the best blue belt in like the country, like on the national circuit. Anyway, I was winning everything. Like I lost like one match at blue belt to like at the British Open final to Max Phelan, but isn't even from England, you know. So doing really well with that, but obviously like I think I always wanted to do the MMA still, but it was just kind of like I was kind of repressing it, trying to focus on the jiu-jitsu. And then once I started university, I moved, and it was like I was further away from Factory. I started training with Cam for the first time. I went to his gym for the first time.
Got the Paramount.
Yeah. Like it was probably still called Paramount MMA. Like the first fucking month or two that I went there before it became like ASW. And then I went there, and then like originally just to like do grappling, like try and learn some wrestling for the jiu-jitsu. But I'd go and I'd have like an MMA class before or after or whatever. So that I was like, I may as well just do that too. And like within like a month, I was like, oh yeah, I'll fight again. Like, and then,
so you've had
like
so quite a good array of coaches there. Like Adam, I can attest for his coaching, and
yeah, Adam's a really good coach. Yeah.
You couldn't have gone to 2 better coaches there to develop your grappling skills and MMA skills.
Yeah, for sure. Like especially in Manchester, like really good. Like the way Adam teaches as well is like as I've like travelled and like trained with different people, and like because obviously not just at top team, we have like a lot of guest coaches and stuff, and people come in and just teach for a little bit or like meet different black belts or whatever, and like the way Adam teaches and like the style of teaching he does is like it's really good, you know. Like you've been to like the John Will seminars that he's really into.
Yeah,
it's obviously you can see the inspiration from that. And, like he's a very good teacher. Doesn't get enough I think he doesn't get enough credit, you know.
Oh no, definitely 100%. Like he's got a mat full of killers there.
The level of Adam in the gi and then the level of Cam in the no gi, like you say, you couldn't have got 2 better variations of grappling in your repertoire now. So you was at Factory, you learnt the gi, you climbed the ranks there, you trained with Killers, then you was at Cam's Paramount, MSW, ASW, and Cam's been a killer for well over a decade now. How good he is. Obviously, I think it was yesterday before he got his first degree on his black belt. So it is legit. You were at ASW under Cam for a couple of years or a few years before you made the move to Phuket. So let's touch on sort of that time, because that was the sort of time under Cam where you transitioned back into MMA. You fought the likes of like Jordan Chester, Robbie Thacker, Chris Price, Akpan Pallet. You fought the who's who of the English scene at your weight. What was it like sort of going into them fights on Retribution and Cage Predators and Shinobi and Tanko and getting sort of that experience?
It was good, man. I enjoyed it a lot, but like I don't know. They were all different, you know. It's like at that stage in my life as well. I think like I was doing, obviously I was doing it a lot, but when I look back at it, I feel like, you know, I was kind of half-assing it for a lot of it as well, you know. Like there's like when I trained with Adam and stuff, I was like, I was like super focused, you know, like training twice a day, every day. Like I'd go to college, I'd like leave college, like skip lessons or whatever. I'd go do to the day session at factory, go back in the evening, train 2-3 hours. Then like I got to Cam's and like I was at uni then at that point as well, and I was like that at first, and then I had my first big injury where I had to miss a few months, but it took like a year, you know, to like really get better. I had a bit less than a year, you know, but I didn't know anything about rehab and like looking after my body. But like I don't know, while I was in uni, like a lot of the time I wasn't training and like living. Definitely wasn't living that. I was training a lot, but I wasn't living the lifestyle that I should live, you know. I was like I probably needed that as well. I was probably like a bit burnt out with like being so focused on training and stuff when I was younger. So yeah, I don't know. Like I was going in doing the fights and stuff, you know, amateur, and like I just wasn't really thinking about it. I was just sort of like a train, go out up until like the week before, I'd like stay out all night, get back like 7 a.m. and then like a week later I'd have a fight. But yeah, I got away with it for a bit, but then, you know, I started to catch up with me. Obviously, like, I lost the last 2 fights. So
It's a strange one, because when you fought Jordan, you and Jordan were sort of the next big thing coming in, and you literally did a great performance, finished Jordan quite early, and so you went to face Robert, and then I think I commentated on your fight against Chris Price. I'm quite sure about that on Cage Predators, and you was definitely favourite going into the fight. You literally dominated, guillotine win, and you sort of at 5-0 at that point. But then the next step, like you say, you came in, you wasn't really taking it seriously. And for a kid that started at like 14, 15 or around that age and was training more or less full time because you were that into it, you were that committed, you're going to want to sort of break free a little bit, do your own thing, have a bit of a party, have a bit of drink. You get into that age, you're in uni. So I guess that's a good learning curve, because you had to learn to balance both, and you realize that you can't balance them sort of lifestyles. Is it after, like you say, the 2 losses to Akpan and Pallet and that sort of ended your amateur career? Is that when something switched on to like, right, if I'm going to do this properly, I need to take this more seriously?
yeah, it's like I could balance it out. It was my body, it was just my mind. Like, just fry your brain, don't you? Get like you just don't think clearly. You get like anxiety and stuff. You know, and you start to, after doing it for a few years, it's like builds up a bit, you know. And it's like, you know, in your head as well. Like, you know, like every time you like have a fight or like do a competition or whatever, you know if you like did everything you were meant to do or not, and if you didn't, like that's there, you know.
Yeah.
But it was probably when I got serious about it was it wasn't even about like fighting Manny or fighting Bobby Pallet. It was like in between them fights when I went to Thailand for the first month. Yeah, because like after I fought Manny, I like broke my hand. I went backstage, I punched the wall, broke my hand. Couldn't really train for a few months. Then I went back to training, like fucked my knee up. I had like 4 or 5 months, not 4, probably like 4 or 5 months where I just training like 2 or 3 times a week, like a hobbyist, you know, couldn't put any intensity to it. And like I wasn't healing properly because I didn't look after myself. And then like that was through like my last year of uni, so I didn't. I don't know. I thought I'd like stopped. I didn't see a future in it. You know, I was starting to think about like other things I'd do. But then when I went to Thailand for that month and I trained like full time again, you know, I trained like twice a day. I was like freaking reaffirmed a lot of stuff for myself. You know, I felt like I did when I was younger again. I was like, this is what I want to do, and like it felt like that was the place I needed to go. When I fought Bobby, I was home for like 2 months, 3 months, and like I was just trying to save money and stuff. Like Cam's gym had closed during that time for like 3 or 4 months, so like, I was doing the training I could, you know, train pretty hard, but it was just I wasn't that fit for it and stuff. But I had a good fight, so I thought I beat him, to be honest. But like, he's a good fighter, he's massive as well, you know.
Yeah, he's normally a welterweight. Obviously, you stepped up to lightweight. He went down to lightweight. So there would be a bit of a difference anyway. And that would have been another learning curve where you thought, right, if I'm going to take this seriously, I'm going to have to take the right fights. I'm going to have to make sure if I go into these lightweight divisions, which will funnily come onto soon because the way one do it is more the lightweight of what we're used to. But we'll come on to that shortly. So you went to Thailand for the month. You knew you enjoyed it. And then talk through sort of the process of why you moved there full time. I know you got some offers to teach out there. Sort of talk through that with us and what made you take the decision to take that jump, because it's not like you move in country and it's sort of got the same language or the same culture. It's a completely different. It's alien to most of us, especially if they've not been on that side of the world. And what made you take that jump at such a young age?
I mean, to be fair, Phuket's very westernized, so a lot of people here do speak it. Like, I don't speak Thai, you know. Really, I speak a little bit, but not much.
I was hoping you was going to
Said,
speak Thai to us then, Ben.
Saudi Cap. Well, I didn't have an offer to teach, you know, when I first came there. Like, when I was there for that month, met Eric, Eric Uresk, he was, you know, I still consider him my coach, you know. Like, he's left now, like, about a year ago. But, he, like, I don't know, I was lucky, yeah, he took a shine to me, I guess. Like, I saw something in me. And, like, that's pretty rare, you know, like, if you met Eric or you know him, he's not a very warm person initially, you know, for like most people, that'd be like a way of putting it. But he saw something in me, and then
You two were going hand in hand then, wouldn't you? If you're not too warm to a lot of people.
Yeah, somewhat. There's a lot of comparisons made there. But yeah, what was it? Like, I was training one side. Like, he was meant to have like his last fight before he retired. Like, he was doing his fight camp when I was there, you know, and teaching him, and he was like using me as a training partner quite a lot. And then like one Saturday morning, I trained. It was just me and him, and then he just like said to me, he was like, you should just come here, like you got a lot of potential, whatever, but you're probably not going to achieve it, like living where you are. You know, you're gonna have to travel to train, whatever. Is like, this would be a good place for you. So just try live there. And then I was like, thought that was pretty nice. I asked him, you know, is there any way like you could help? I was like hoping at the time, they're going to be like, I can get you sponsored, they're going to pay for your room, your food, you know, just be easier. Like that's what people thought I was doing as well. It wasn't like that. He's like, oh man, I'll get the gym to sponsor you as a favour to me, but if you sponsor your training, you know, so like you have to provide your own accommodation, you know, your own food, everything like that. But I was like, yeah, but the training's quite expensive here. Like relative to England, it's quite expensive, but it's like obviously you're getting what you pay for. Obviously, you know, it's like huge mega gyms, you know, like 7-8 classes a day. But fucking, so I went home for like 3 months. I was like, yeah, I just finished uni. I was like, if I'm gonna try and make a goal of doing this, I was like, this is the time to do it. Like, just got the money together that I could, and then I was meant to be here for 6 months. Like, I'd already bought the flights, you know, like 6 months apart. I was like, I should be able to try and stretch my money that long. I only had like $2.5 grand a day. Like, I ran out after like 3 months. It was like terribly planned. But by the end of the 6 months, like literally within like the last sort of week that I was meant to leave, I kind of got like confirmation that I could have like a job teaching kids, and that was just like a little bit of money. You know, it was like 3 classes a week. But like what decided it was like these 2 kids who used to teach like my old students. I moved away and all Saturday, but they were their dads really liked the way I taught and like the way I was with the kids, and they like offered to like basically like provide me with like an apartment and like a motorbike and stuff, you know, to stay here on the condition like doing like 3 privates a week with the kids or whatever.
Wow.
So like, I was like, fuck. Didn't really know him or anything. Didn't know if it was like gonna work out. I didn't have the apartment or anything. I was just like, I was like, fuck. Don't really want to go back to England there. You know, I've been here for 6 months, so I just didn't get on my flight. I went on like a bus to Malaysia, did a visa run, and then luckily when I got back, the guy took me to like a new apartment. He was like, "Oh, you can stay here." I was like, "Sweet, buzzing," and then it's been here since. You know, it's like progressed since then, obviously, but it's mad.
Have you not been back since at all?
Nah, something keeps happening every time like I'm meant to come. Like my mum came here the first year. I got like the end of I've been here for a year and a half. Tried to get my mum to come here instead of I went there, so like she could get sort of see Thailand and stuff. Then the next year I was meant to go back, and like I was meant to go back in like October, but then something happened. Something happened. I couldn't go, and then last year I fucking separated my shoulder, and like I thought I need to spend all my money on the surgery that didn't end up happening, so I didn't come back then. And then I was like meant to come back in April, and then coronavirus happened. So
I'm
yeah,
gonna say you're not complaining.
yeah, it could be worse. But I really want to come home, like to visit. I really want to come back for like a month or something. But once that travel restrictions are lifted, it'll be easy. I can just go. But right now it's a bit hard.
What's it like been sort of last sort of 6-7 months because of COVID? How hard has it hit where you have? Did it mean your gyms were closed? Sort of what happened and how did that affect you mentally, physically? What happened there?
It's interesting to hear. So like, there's not really COVID here. Like officially anyway, there's no COVID in Thailand now. There's not been any cases for like 3 months, like any domestic cases. So it's like, but Phuket itself is like a mainly tourism based economy. So that's like and like obviously most of the gyms here are mainly tourist based. So like that's hit pretty hard. Like I really tried to like Thai people a lot in like the first month, because like our lockdowns were like we never had that lockdowns how you did, how you know, you couldn't leave the house basically. We had like district lockdowns, and then like provinces were locked down between each other, and then like they just closed loads of businesses, but like they closed everything to do with tourism. So like hundreds of thousands of people in Phuket were like unable to leave, but they were unable to work. And obviously the wages and stuff are a bit different here. Like yeah, the government wasn't able to subsidize stuff the same way they have in England as well, you know. So that was really hard for people. Not for me personally, luckily, but like the Thai people and stuff then. And now it's just like most of them have left. A lot of businesses have shut. So like they've gone back to the home provinces and stuff. So you don't have the same sort of like food lines and stuff like that. But a lot of the businesses are really, like, obviously all the tourism based businesses here are like either they've shut down or they're just kind of on pause. And like the gym and stuff's open now, but it's like all the gyms here are struggling, you know, like financially they're struggling. I guess there's not the same amount of people. Like normally we'd have like in high season, you might have like 50, 60 people for like a jiu-jitsu class at top team of a level. Wow. And now there might be like sometimes it's like 20, which is good. But like that's like a really good day. But before you'd be like terrified if there's 20 people, you'd be like, what the fuck's happening, you know?
Yeah. Did it affect your training at all?
Yeah. Like I can't remember how long I didn't fucking count it, but like for like 2 months the gym just couldn't open, like there was like government restrictions on that. So we just one of my friends' training partners, he lived in the same district as me, luckily, so we could still go to his house each day. and he bought like the day like the fucking gym show. He just bought a load of mats, and he like put it all in his villa. It was really nice actually. So we just training like jiu-jitsu there twice a day, and then sometimes I go do pads with one of my coaches, Mali, as well. So I was still training twice a day, but it wasn't like structured the same and stuff, you know.
I can imagine
But
like
lucky than most people.
yeah, I was like, I can imagine like your sort of camp preparing for your recent fight as well would have differed quite a bit as well.
Yeah, it was that was weird. It was like under the circumstances, it was really good. You know, I did the best, but it's like I'd be used to like having quite a lot of sparring partners now, and like a variety in sparring partners and stuff, and like we're on like a restricted timetable at the gym as well. So it was like I'd be doing pads and training with like Marley and Vaughn, like I'd be doing like, you know, 1-to-1 training with them. But then I'd grapple with like, there was like 2-3 guys who were like at a good level who I was grappling with a lot, and then I had 2 sparring partners. I had one guy who'd spar kickboxing with me called Henry. He's a really good fighter, and then I just had Vaughn and Ruda as like. But luckily they were all 3 of them were southpaws, and I was fighting a southpaw, so it was good. But I don't have any healthy like orthodox training partners right now or anything. So it was lucky, but it wasn't what it could have been, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go on, Simon.
How's the training differed then? Like mainly, do you know, from when you moved from Manchester to Phuket? Like, obviously, like, there's going to be difference in the training styles over there. Other than sort of being a bit more full time, have you noticed like a difference in the coaching styles or in the like, sort of the way that they drill or spar?
So in like initially when like Eric was there and you know there was no COVID and anything like that, there was there was like it was still professionalism, I guess, you know. It was like an American approach to training almost, you know. It was like very structured, and I went from training with like, obviously I went to ASW in the daytime, like you had like everyone was massive there, but you know at the time it's like apart from my obviously I had my training with Michael, that was great, you know. When I was like 18, 19, like that was amazing. It was in the UFC, he was like the best fighter in the country at the time, but he'd be injured a lot too, you know, at that time, and he moved away like soon after me, but everyone was real big there. And then like training at Cam's gym, it was there was like some good guys, and like there's like Joe Lembo and stuff. He was just like, you know, I'm training with my mates. I loved it, you know, but I was training with my mates. I wasn't training with like there was no pro fighters at Cam's gym at that time, and there wasn't really any other amateur fighters either, you know, or not serious ones anyway. I went from that to training with like just professional fighters, you know. That was it. I was like, and very often guys who are like in the UFC or have gone to the UFC, ACA, Bellator, whatever, like high level guys. And then the coaching reflected that, you know, like I was a really good coach, and it was like yeah, I was just training like a professional athlete, you know. That was the difference. Obviously, we had the full time stuff and everything, but it was like a different mentality, mindset, and that was reflected in sparring as well. It wasn't, you weren't sparring with your friends, you know. It was like world champion kickboxers and stuff on the mat for like the striking sparring and stuff. It was like a really high level. You'd have like back then you could have like 30, 40 pro fighters for the pro sparring, you know. It was really good, like it was fucking amazing.
Before we talk about the most recent fight, which was a week ago, you made your pro debut in Thailand, and obviously you've had Thai fights as well, and you fought in Australia. What was it like transitioning to the pro ranks, and not just pro MMA, but the pro Thai circuit, and then fighting in Thailand, and then also in Australia? You had like 3 or 4 back-to-back in Australia, and also with the Thai fights as well. How did you find the transition and the level of opponents and sort of fighting in two completely different countries?
No, like the big problem I had back then was like being based in Thailand, and then I didn't have any pro fights at the time. Like there wasn't much of an MMA. There isn't still, like there's like really high level MMA training here, obviously between like top team Tiger, AKA, but there isn't MMA fights here really. There's just one MMA show right now, and there's been a few others that have like one or two shows, but there isn't much going on. So it's really hard to get fights. So like the first pro MMA fight I had here in Thailand, that's like maybe 9 months for me to get of like trying to get a fight, and then it was that was against an English guy as well actually. He was like the boxing coach at Bangkok Fight Lab at the time. He's a really nice guy too. Like I don't know, I was one of them there. I think he was a very good boxer. He won a lot of boxing fights, but like it was only like 2 minutes and it was just all jiu-jitsu, so I didn't get much of an appreciation for it. Like then I didn't fight that. I couldn't get another fight for like another year until I went to Australia, and then like I don't know. There wasn't really a difference between like the transitions there. I'm sorry, I've just spoke a lot and then not answered your question. I don't know. I don't know the difference between Thailand and Australia. Like it's great. It's good everywhere that I've been to fight. It's been really good though. All my experiences of like fighting professionally, like, apart from the time I lost, that was some shit. But like I've enjoyed it. It's like I don't know what the difference is. I guess the difference is every time I went to Australia, I always like, besides the first fight, and even then, because I think they thought he was going to beat me, like I always had to sort of fight the fucking hometown guy.
Yeah.
Even when I fought the guy in Thailand, he was based in Bangkok. So technically, I was fighting the hometown guy. Like I just had to fight the people that the other people didn't really want to fight. But I don't know. It's fucking good though. Like it's much better than like not as if wrong with it, but I'm very lucky that like I got to have like my first fucking all my pro fights have been on like really good shows, good venues. I've not been fighting in like having to have like my first 4 or 5 fights in a sports centre, and then fighting on like Cage Warriors or something. Like I got to fight really well organised stuff, pretty high profile for that part of the world. Anyway, it's like high profile areas and stuff. So I don't know, man. Sorry, I've not answered the question at all.
It's all right. No,
Yeah.
I guess because you've been out there so long, it's not unnormal to you. And like you say, Phuket's quite westernized, so I guess it was just like taking a flight to the same thing. You go in there to fight anyway, so it wasn't really a sightseeing venture. Your most recent fight was a week ago. You got the win against Quitin Thomas. What a performance! It was on One Championship, which is now recognised as probably second or third biggest MMA promotion in the world right now. As an argument, what's after the UFC and Bellator do great, but I'm more into sort of the One FC stuff at the minute. I like the way they put on the fights, and like I touched on a few minutes ago, this fight was at lightweight, but it was because the way they do weight divisions is more of a what you walk around at. They don't really like you cutting. So like Demetrius Johnson, for people that don't know, was the UFC flyweight champion, but he fights in the bantamweight division, 10 pounds heavier in One. Was that new to you? What did you feel like not having to cut as much, or did you cut? How did it work for you?
So like I'd been to One twice, to like corner people, and like I'd been for the fight week before, and obviously I had loads of friends, like training partners and stuff, who fight on it, so I knew like what the deal was with it, like how it was going to be sort of like what the procedure would be, but it was really easy for me because like I did obviously the One's featherweight division, which is I had to weigh in under the lightweight limit. And you do a hydration test as well, and you have to make that weight 2 times during the week. So you make it like we fought on Friday, so you'll make weight you make weight and hydration on Wednesday and Thursday. And then if you were to miss either your weight or your hydration on either day, then I think maybe if you miss it, you get like an hour or something, to see if you can take a piss, come down, you can make it. But you have to make the weight on the Friday then. So you have to make the weight on the Friday, like 6 hours before you fight or something, So it's very hard for people to cheat, like for sure. But originally, anyway, I was meant to fight bantamweight. When I first signed, the first bout agreement I had, it was for one's bantamweight division. So I would have had to make 65.7 kilos hydrated, which I'm very confident I can do. I want to do it. That's where I see my future, and what I build a career, in one championship. But the guy I was meant to fight originally, 3 days later, he pulled out of the bout, and then they offered me the fight with Quitin, but that was at featherweight, and obviously it was too big an opportunity, not to do. So I did that, and I don't know now in the future. I don't know. They've not offered, but they've mentioned opponents at both weights for me for in the future. So I'll see what happens from that point. But I can't really question.
I've got to say, the performance in the last fight, those leg kicks, just snapping, and what in the second round when you sort of stumbled him, you stay quite composed, whereas a lot of people you see in sort of other fights where they'll rush in and try to almost capitalise on that, but you stay composed and kept the attack going forward. What was going through your mind at that point, or is it just sort of all just?
No, I think honestly, I think I looked at the referee and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna stop it?" But I think I was just being hopeful there. I was just like, "Oh, maybe he'll stop it if we can look at him."
That was a Thai mentality inside you, because watching that, and because I'm now technically a pro Thai fighter as well. When they start to stumble, you can get standing TKOs more in Thai fights. Do you feel like that sort of brain mentality went towards the referee? Shouldn't you be stepping in at least for a standing 8 count?
No, it was probably just me being just making a mistake. Yeah, I probably just made a mistake. For him, yeah, obviously it's so easy looking back at it, but when I hit him to the legs, instead of kicking his legs more, I should have just started hitting him in the head. I just sort of stood on one leg. But yeah, I don't even know which punch it did it. After I watched it back, but I can't tell. I didn't show it, which is quite look at. But I think in the first round, I can't remember. I think in the I had my head was a bit fucked afterwards. He hit me in the first round or something, and my world wobbled there. I was like, oh fucking hell, this isn't going good. And but recovered obviously. I kept going, and then when I started, I hurt him, and I started throwing more leg kicks. He threw one shot back at me. It's obviously being predictable. I was just kicking him straight to the leg, and he still wanted to fucking win. He's a good fighter. It's really tough. He counted me, and that one didn't rock me or anything, but I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to get fucking knocked out trying to kick by a man on one leg, that was shit. So then I stepped back and I was like, if I hurt him like that, he's not going to be able to fucking walk, I'm doing smashing, it's be easy. Then he just 30 seconds later he was bouncing around and dancing. I was like, fucking hell.
It was the whole performance was great because you were literally just zoned into the fight. You both started in southpaw. The kicks in the second round made him completely switch his stance to the point that he wanted to switch back to southpaw. You could tell that that's where he was comfortable, but he knew he was going to get kicked again. His hands were still high. He wasn't checking the kicks. You were catching him, and then the finish sort of came with sort of a left hand uppercut. He dropped, he came back up, and then it's sort of a free punch combination that finished with, I think it was a right hand. Referee stepped in.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of relief from you. What did that sort of feel like to get it on that sort of stage?
Like you said, man, it's just relief. Not even that. I wasn't even that happy. It's just, I don't know. Maybe a lot of people feel like me. Maybe some don't. Maybe it's weird, but I used to just like get real anxious and stuff, you know, for the fights. I think like a lot of people do, you know, but like I think a lot about it, blah blah. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and then when it's over and it's like, you know, and it's gone well, it's like initially anyway, it's just relief, like just like, oh thank fuck, like I've done it, I can fucking relax like for a little bit. I'm just it's a bit overwhelming. Just to sit down for a bit. It's only after like go back, kind of like, you know, an hour or two later, you know, and like think about it a bit. You're like, oh, 1 month, but when you get like the win bonus too, you're like, what? Oh, I'm gonna go and do this now. Like, then I'm like happy. But when it just happens, it's just, for me, I'm just relieved.
Your opponent in Quintin, he was IMAF world champion from America, great wrestling base. I think it was South Carolina he was from. He beat Scott Pedersen in the IMAFs, which he's now turned pro in the UK. He's doing great. He was a great amateur back then. I'm sure he went and won the Worlds after that, or the Euros anyway. Did you do much research on him as an opponent, or was it you didn't care who it was, you just wanted to get in there?
No, he is like so he won the IMAF Worlds in like maybe 2017. I think I read it. It's like 2017. But yeah, it's definitely 2017. Then like the year later, he won the the Tiger Muay Thai tryouts.
Right.
Yeah, so he's like he trains at the Tiger. He trains down the street from me, and he's like been there for like training full time for like 2 years. You know, just like on scholarship. I don't know his exact details, but he won a scholarship that year, and so I see him all the time. Really, like I definitely saw him more after like we agreed to fight as well. Like kept fucking bumping into him, but I don't know who he was. Like I couldn't find much about him fighting in a way. That was what I was like. It's lucky in a way, but like we watched it's funny. Like we watched 2 fights of his. It was like his pro debut and one of his like first amateur fights, and it's just wrestling. Like all you see in the fight is like in his pro debut, he just takes the guy down within like 15 seconds. He just mounts him and just smashes him for like about 8 minutes. You know, second round starts does the exact same thing. Then the amateur fight on YouTube, he gets dropped in like the first fucking quite an uppercut after I can visualize it quite a bit. But like, he gets dropped, then he gets back up, takes the guy down, and then he just mauls the guy with wrestling and like ground and pound for like 9 minutes, you know, just on him like constantly. And then like fucking when we watched it, we were like, right, he's gonna wrestle you, you know? Like that's it. So we spent the whole fucking 4 weeks, you know, that we had before the fight, just like Ruda, who's the wrestling coach at Top Team, is like he won the IMAF Worlds as well. He's a southpaw. He's like the perfect training partner for what we thought it was going to be.
Nice.
He's just sparring with him, just him trying to take me down constantly. Got like a few guys who wrestle still, who train there, doing like getting shark tanks with just like, you know, starting on the bottom, trying to get back up, you know, doing jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And like, this is exactly how the fight's going to be. And then about maybe 10 days before the fight, you know, kind of pretty much finished all the training, someone sent me like a video, which was it was like a 6-hour video of like the cage from the IMAF World Finals that year.
Yeah.
And like if you found it in like, you know, like 4-hour point or something, like it was like Quintin's like tournament final. And then like I'd read some articles where like they referred to him as a boxer, and I'm like, nah, it's fucking wrestler. This must be a mistake. Then I watched this final at the final of the IMAF Worlds, and it's just like, just smashes the guy. Just walks this like barely Russian guy down for like 9 minutes, just smashing him, just like kicks his legs a bit, and just pings punches off his head. I was just like, oh fuck, maybe he's a fucking striker. And then like I saw obviously know his fucking training partners and shit as well, you know, like it was like in some Instagram like, you know, story, and even that though, all the Instagram stories I'd watched, he'd be in the background like wrestling people. I was like, fucking hell, yeah, he's just gonna wrestle me, you know. But his coach was holding pads for someone, and he had a fucking shin pad, you know, on the outside of their shin. So like when the padding people, guys can throw calf kicks on them. And I was like, he's gonna fucking. I said to Mal, I was like, man, he's gonna come out and he's gonna pot shot me, and he's just going to try carking my legs out. And then I don't think he's going to try wrestle, at least until he thinks like I'm tired and stuff. Like he's going to maybe respect my jiu-jitsu a bit. And then like we didn't really train for it, but we sort of went over like, all right, if this happens, we're going to fucking try to do this. And then he came out and like sure enough, he just moving loads. Like he threw the first few sort of low kicks, and like I was like, yeah, this is the game, you know. But like I always had, so I was just trying to match his low kicks, and I managed to catch him and stuff. But it was difficult as well. Like obviously fought a really fight, made him miss a lot and stuff. But I always had as well because of the way we trained. Like every time I got close to him, I just tried to move away because I was really worried he was just going to take me down at some point. Like that was how we'd been training basically. But like it meant when we got into exchanges and stuff, like I was only throwing like singles and twos. I didn't really throw much more than like 3 strikes at a time. And like if I knew he was going to approach it just to strike, obviously I would have changed that. But he might have took me down anyway. So it was difficult. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird.
The main point I picked up from it, obviously, we've seen fights in rings before through Pride, etc. I presume you've done it in the past, but the 1FC ring, like a boxing ring, that's got 5 ropes. It's quite a big space, really, especially for two featherweight lightweights. And plus, like you say, technically until 7-10 days before, you thought you was fighting a wrestler. How do you prepare? So say, for instance, he did look to try and wrestle you, and you're used to sort of cage walking and stuff like that and trying to get up from the cage. How do you sort of, because technically you've got to try and out-wrestle him or standing. How do you sort of game plan that against ropes?
Yeah. I mean, this was a mistake we made in preparing. Like, while we were training, we were doing like all the MMA sessions in like the pro room. We do most of the sparring in the cage. It's weird as well because like normally when there's like 30-40 people, like just do all the sparring on the mat. No one really uses the cage. Like we just use like the main room in the gym, but we were using the small room because it was like quiet. So we just did it in the cage out the way. And we were always like, as we were training, we were like, man, we better. In the last like 3 weeks or whatever, we'll go do our sparring outside in the boxing ring, just to like get a feel for it. It's like, yeah, man, yeah, the last 3 weeks we'll definitely do that. But then like the Muay Thai class was on at the same time. We were always doing our sparrings and stuff. It was like, oh, I don't want to get in the way of the Thai trainers and stuff. We'll just do it in here today, and like next session we'll do it. Then when it got to it, we were just like, I've had Muay Thai fights. I've fought in a ring before. It'll be fine. but yeah, it's. I don't know. I watched some videos as well. Like there's guy who fights in one who's like a really good fighter in their organization, and like he does when he's getting single legged, he like backs up towards the ropes and then he jumps out pretty much. Like
wow.
Not intentionally, like he does not intentionally, but like it's definitely intentional. He ends up getting warned for it and stuff. But like it's a really good like ring. It's different to a boxing ring. Like it's very hard to go through and stuff in the ropes. So like there's not much bounce in them at all.
Yeah.
But there's definitely ways you could exploit it.
I guess from the outside looking in, you would sort of want to try and back up to the corner where it's got the most padding, the turnbuckle side, because you can sort of walk your back up and mimic a cage. Whereas in the ropes, one of them's sort of going to give way, and you've seen it throughout the years in Pride and stuff where they sort of fall out and then everyone has a bit of a laugh. But some people do get injured doing that. So when I noticed he was a wrestler, I was like, shit, how do you counter that? And it was quite a strange thing because even though late on you found out he was going to stand up with you and that's where you feel like he was going to go, when you were starting to pick him apart standing, it was very strange that he didn't shoot once. And maybe that's because he knew you're now a jiu-jitsu black belt in BJJ and you're very high level and you could catch him. And one thing I did notice, just on a side note, is Michael Schiavello was like, Ben's fought amateur, all his fights to a decision. And I'm like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
They're fucking almost by submission. Like, my head was going, wait, have I dreamt the Chris Price and the Jordan Chester fights? Like, what happened there? So Michael, you're a pro, mate, but that was amateur. But I was more shocked because he didn't shoot once, and when you're getting picked apart, you would expect at least one shot. Even if his leg's battered, you would expect push you against the edge of the ring and go for a takedown. But that's what he sort of ate into you. Your finish was from start to finish up until the end. You were constant. You were, even though you were missing a few shots and he was ducking and diving and stuff, you were starting to pick him apart. And that right hand leg at the end, I don't know how he was even standing. And like you said a few minutes ago, he was starting to move around it a bit more freely, and that would confuse you a little bit. But I guess that's mind over matter.
Yeah, like it's funny that you say that about match further. Like 9-1 as well. It's like, I don't know, it's no mistake. They wrote an article about me as well, and they like called me like a purple belt. I was like, I didn't think he'd be offended. I didn't think I had an ego about jiu-jitsu and stuff. I was like, fucking black belt. Why are they writing purple belt? I'm fucking black belt, man.
I completely understand where you're coming from.
Agree with that.
I don't know. I reckon because it was close, you know. Like, fair enough, it was close, and like the way they judge it at one is like which I really like the idea of. It's like it's not judged round by round, so it's they judge it the fight as a whole.
Like pride.
And then, like, yeah, and then like the scoring criteria is basically like, if you nearly finish the fight, that's the best thing. That's like the highest scoring thing. If you nearly submit or you nearly stop the guy. And then it's like based on damage, and so like takedowns and like defending takedowns are like near the bottom, you know.
Yeah.
Like if you want the grappling dominance is up higher, so like if you take the person down and do something, you know, it's worth it. But like it's more about damage, and I think because it was a close fight, he probably felt he was landing his shots too, and he was like following his game plan. Like I don't know, he might have felt he was winning, you know, but I don't know. Like it's weird when you're fighting and you can't really, you're not always like when you watch it back, it doesn't always look how you thought it was. Yeah. I felt like obviously I still feel there's things, you know, I did wrong and that I need to improve, but it felt worse. Like I felt really stiff and stuff, you know, when we were fighting. But when I watch it, I'm like, oh, I look quite loose. But like in my head, I would feel myself like tense in my face, and my shoulders felt tense and stuff, you know.
I think like watching it as well, like sorry, go on.
No, you go.
Like your head movement, like his shots didn't seem to be landing at all. Like you were slipping a lot of shots, and then you were countering a lot. And I think the distance that you were keeping, and then landing your 1-2s and getting back out of the way and things like that, I think that might have offset his wrestling as well. Like the way that you were moving around definitely sort of stifled his entrance for the shots. And it looked like you were delivering a lot more damage, especially off the one scoring card. Like his like shots weren't landing as effectively as yours, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I felt like obviously it was the one shot that like it legit like rocked me, you know, near the start. But like I showed some damage on my face, like more so than him. Like he on the face, like he didn't. I think he had a few like very small cuts, but like it showed more on my face for sure. But I felt like when I'd hit him, not all the time obviously, but when I connected, I felt like I stumbled him a few times, or like I'd snap his head, you know, and like there wasn't as much shots that like snapped mine, but he was definitely, you know, he was touching me still, you know, and like I don't know, like it was close, you know. When we were fighting, there's never like this point. Obviously, when I hurt his leg and stuff, but like that was one of the things that I felt bad about as well. I was like, I should have pushed it more because I didn't really feel like I was dominant, you know. I felt I was winning, but I was kind of fighting to his pace a bit too much, and I didn't really put a stamp on it, you know, the way like how in my other pro fights, I tend to set a pace more on people, and like I pressure a lot more. But like for different reasons, I was a bit scared of getting tired. I was more scared than normal of getting tired in this one, and but stuff got to work on, you know. It could have cost me the fight. Luckily, it didn't, but I have to work on it, you know.
Oh, fair.
What was it what was it like? Obviously, technically COVID era, no crowd, minimal people. There's only 6 or 7 bouts on the card. You were first one in, so it's not like you could be in the change room and watching how things reacted. You were first in on that. What was it like, sort of being around that sort of that feeling?
Uh, I, for the week of the fight, I'd prefer a normal fight week because we had to quarantine and we were doing like daily COVID tests, and I understand why they were doing it, of course, but like you know, officially, you know, there's no COVID in Thailand, so it was like people didn't understand why to an extent, but obviously they have to be safe. You know, they want like sort of adhere to like international guidelines and like you know how to run like a high profile sporting event, and they did. You know, so no one got COVID and shit. You know, but for the actual fight itself, I preferred it that because like the last sort of 4 fights I've had have been like at the top, towards the top of the card, you know, and like even like most of my amateur fights have like near the top of the card or like the top, and then you don't know when you're gonna fight, you know, like you're waiting for all these fights to go on, blah blah blah, but then like fighting on one, it's like it's just like a fucking conveyor belt, you know. Like we had to go to the fucking arena private. We had to go private there, you know, just me and my coach. We go in like our own sort of shuttle, get there, go to a private changing room. Don't even see anyone else. Just like a guy came in, wrapped their hands, and then you waited for like the. Oh man, I'm sorry, I can't think of the right word, but like one of the organisers, you know, like member of staff came, like yeah, one of the runners. Like, thank you. One of the runners just like, right, all right, it's your time. Walk out, walk to the ring, and completely empty, like massive arena still as well. It's like Impact Arena. It's like a 12,000 seat arena that they normally use in Bangkok.
Wow.
There's what's just the ring in the middle. There's like the seats just next to the ring. There's like 10 guys in high vis jackets who work there who are just sort of watching, and then there's just the officials around and your opponent. No one out, you know, just stand. You see he's already in the ring. He was already in the ring as well. I sort of look up at him. Everything's dark. The ring's bright white. But it's my day because there's no crowd, like not the same, no walkout and stuff. It's like it feels like a fight, but it doesn't feel like a. Yeah. It's weird, man. It's weird. I liked it in a way, though, because
the first time you're really thinking about it.
yeah, probably. Like, I don't know if I preferred it. I don't know how different it really was. Like, it was different, obviously, but I'm like, I don't know how different it would have been if it was people.
Yeah, you zoned in when you fight, so it's sort of you sort of listen to the crowd, but you can with no crowd, especially we've learned the last sort of 4 or 5 months with the UFC being back a lot, is you can hear a lot. People have actually preferred it. I've not noticed any different. I didn't notice there wasn't a crowd that much until they started talking about it, and that's one thing I've sort of zoned out on. Like a lot of sports where they've now put the crowd noise into football and pro wrestling and basketball, you sort of notice there's no crowd, whereas in MMA, because they're sort of dark in the surroundings, you don't really notice it. You sort of enjoy it because you can hear the crowd.
Yeah, you hear the FUD and stuff, right? You hear like the connection, right? It's nice. Yeah, you don't hear. It's funny. The one thing that was different, like of the actual fight, it was the first time or second time. It was the first time he cornered me by himself. Like the other time, it was like 3 years ago. The same much like Marley was cornering me, and like you can hear everything each corner's saying. It's like his corner. I remember one point his corner like called for a head kick, and then he went to do it, and like I took before he even like stepped into it, I'd like already moved out of the way, and then his corner just shouted, "Yeah, nice fake, nice." You know, and like I threw. There's one shot I threw, and I felt like it connected pretty well, and then his corner shouted, "Nice slip," and I was like, "Oh fuck, you didn't slip that. Why are you lying? Like, freaking, you're trying to tell the judges, you know." Like my corner was just talking. Yeah, what was I saying? My corner was just talking mad shit. Like really funny. Like looking back, it was dead funny. Like there was some advice he gave to me, and then he was just saying stuff to try get in like Quinton's head. Like for me, he was like every time we were like getting close, he's like, he's gonna shoot, and then like you just be shouting to just tell him what he's gonna do. Cause obviously if someone says like, oh, you're gonna do this, like you don't really want to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, we want him to shoot. this is what we prepared for. His jiu-jitsu's nowhere near you. You're just like shouting pure shit. And, like, that might be why he didn't shoot, to be fair. Like, just mildly fucking talking. Like, fuck. Like, he probably gave me about, like, 5 words of advice there. The rest of it was just, like, talking down to him.
Yeah. It's like, is it Mark Henry that has, like, loads of codes? And he says, I might completely get his code completely wrong here, but it says something like chisel toaster, and it means like a combination, and they've got to learn it, and he resets it every time, so nothing's the same or nothing's similar. Yeah. But I guess throwing him off, that is quite funny as well, because you're there.
We had, like, we had some, like if he called for, but it wasn't like that. Sorry. Hello? Yeah, sorry. It wasn't that obscure, but it was like, there was certain shots he was going to call for, and like if you called like a single sort of shot, there was a combination that went with it, which was like one of them was actually what I threw at the end. Like maybe shouted for it. It was like I threw. It's meant to be like paw, uppercut, hook, and that was what caught him. But like obviously the hook missed. Yeah, it was mainly just fucking talking shit to him. Just trying to get in his head. He was like, he said he was going to do it before as well, but I didn't realise he'd do it to like that extent. Like I felt bad after. I felt bad afterwards. I was like, poor guy.
I guess I think, if I'm right by saying this, I think you're the only active MMA fighter, pro amateur, that is sponsored by Progress at the minute, because I know James is very jiu-jitsu orientated. I know we started looking after you when you was doing jiu-jitsu anyway, but obviously he's followed you and all the way to Thailand and stuff. So I think that's technically the biggest stage Progress shorts have been on, apart from Empire, obviously. What's it like having the support of I know what it's like having the support of James and for my events, but what's it sort of been like having James throughout your sort of journey, and he's carried on in Thailand?
After you've said that, it's making me think I need to renegotiate with him a bit. Maybe I'm not getting enough. Like, got more than 100,000 views on Instagram, right? It's sick, man. Like, James is obviously everyone who knows him is just like, he's just a top guy, you know. I've nothing else to it. Like when I was like 19, it was like it's like my first MMA fight back after the break. He sort of like sponsored me in a sense. Like he just gave me some shots for it, and then he just also said, he's like, listen, if you want to like continue it, you know, I'll be happy to sponsor you. And I'm really glad I did. You know, it's like the gym, technically the gym sponsors me as well, but like, and my friend Marley, my coach, he sponsored me to put his like company's logo on you know, for the fight. Like James is my only like long term like sort of sponsor, and but yeah, it's just awesome, man. Like, I try not to like ask for stuff and, you know, stuff like that, you know, but it's always just like sometimes you just send me, you know, like gear or whatever, and like I feel like if I just asked for anything and just do it, you know, like if I wanted like, oh, I need 4 gis, or just like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. It was not that I need 4, but it's just so nice and like reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about him, man. And then obviously Progress is just a sick brand too. Like you see like the everything, you know, about like, all the shorts and stuff. Like the shorts were for the fight. Like I posted them on my Instagram like a year and a half there. I was like, oh, these are the nicest shorts ever, you know. Like I really like the fucking stuff. Like the normal clothes he sends me. No, like I haven't bought clothes since I left England. You know, it's just stuff people have given to me, and like what Progress sent me, and Top Team have given me. It's like that's like my formal wear, you know, like a white Progress t-shirt. I'm like, oh, I feel nice today, you know.
I think we're all the same. My wardrobe is very Progress or Empire orientated or something like that. I know Simon probably the same with NVR and random jiu-jitsu gear anyway. It does become our life, because most people, like say, I've got like 12 gis, but people like us that don't really train in the gi as much, Ben obviously Simon just occasionally, it's a lot of t-shirts are jiu-jitsu or MMA t-shirts that you've sort of been given or acquired over the years. And you're presuming you've got a couple of I don't know if back when you did the Grapple Nation Empire events when you worked for them, if they were the actual Grapple Nation.
I got the referee ones and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I I don't know if I've still got them in Thailand. Like I think I had some of them. I brought some of them with me at first, but like I see like wearing it off training and stuff like, and like the amount of training doing, and, like the conditions here, you know, like clothes get ruined pretty easily.
I can
But like
imagine.
yeah, like now literally like because of the climate and like also my lifestyle, it's like I wear like training shorts are, like normal clothes to me as well. You know, I could just wear like progress shorts when I go like to the freaking, like when I get up in the morning, I get dressed, put on like a pair of MMA shorts and like a t-shirt or something, and go out. That's it, you know. It's yeah, it's nice, man.
So,
I,
before we look to wrap up, Ben, a couple more minutes. What sort of next for you then? Obviously, COVID. It's difficult to sort of get any fights. You've gone with one now. What's that? Is it another one with one? Have you got a contract with them, or is it just looking around to try and keep active, whether that's pro Thai or pro MMA?
yeah. Now my next fight will be under like one championship or one warrior series for sure. But I was trying to recover from the last fight, and now it's like get back into the training, and hopefully next time we come to Thailand, I should be, and I think I definitely will be, as if international travel restrictions aren't sort of lifted, and for sure, like I'll next time we come to Bangkok, obviously not this sort of week, because they've got another show this week as well, but the next time we come, hopefully I'm hoping they're going to come in like October or November. I should be on that. Yeah. So yeah, right now that's it. I'm just sort of like recovering, getting healthier, trying to focus on my training, improve the things I need to improve, get ready to do it again. You know. That's
Cool.
it.
Anything
Yeah.
else before we let him go, Simon? I know it's what time is it there now, Ben?
10:13.
10:30. Oh, that's not too bad. Anything before we let him go,
Yeah.
Si?
No, it's just been great to chat to him and sort of hear how life's going, mate. It's good to see you doing well.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. It's been really good to speak to you too as well. Enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Probably the most I've ever spoke. Yeah.
I was thinking that you don't really get a sentence out here. Before, obviously, I know we just touched on the sponsors anyway, but anyone you want to thank, sponsors, teammates, anything like that, before we let you go?
I'd like to thank the top team, all my coaches, like all the staff there, my training partners, all the guys back in England as well. Thank you to you guys for having me on. I would thank Progress, but obviously now that I've sort of reached this sort of level of stardom, I'm unhappy with my current circumstance there. But maybe after I spoke with James, I'll thank Progress too.
He's gonna batter me.
For him, yeah, no, that's it, man. Fun then. Thank you for having me on. If anyone does want to sponsor me, obviously not for jiu-jitsu gear or like fight shorts, feel free to send me free stuff. I'd be very open to that. Yeah, but that's it.
Okay, so if people wanted to sponsor you or just wanted to follow your career, how can they follow you on social media? Like, what's your Instagram handle and stuff?
My Instagram is Ben Royle 145, and I don't really post on it that much. But if you sponsor me, I'll post on it all the time for you, I promise.
Well, Ben, it's been a pleasure, fella. I hope you get some sorted in the next couple of months, and when you're back over here, I'm sure we'll catch up properly, and yeah, we'll speak soon.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on.
Nice one,
Hopefully, I'll see you soon.
Awesome.
Take it. Hopefully see you
Nice
soon.
one.